Well, I guess with that, we're live. Welcome to the Iron Palace Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Iron Palace Podcast, the world's most anabolic podcast that packs more intensity than a gym bro explaining why bench press is the only exercise that matters.
Well, it is, isn't it?
Incorrect. It is not.
I mean, it's the only one people ask you how much you do.
But I don't know why.
It's the ultimate.
Well, see, the trick, since I do strongman, the trick is to say, oh, I don't know, that's just an accessory, but I can overhead press X. And your overhead press, anyone that's going to ask you how much you bench, your overhead press is almost definitely going to be heavier than their bench if you do strongman. So
true. That's true. Except for me. Neither one of mine are. Overhead press is trash. My bench press is trash. All my pressing is trash.
If it's a pressing movement, we just
don't call me. There's about 1,000 other people to call before you call me. If you need something lifted that's not crazy heavy, I can moderately deadlift heavy.
We're living in that RPE 7 zone.
Yep. All right, so we'll jump into our guest introduction, and so that we can just move on with the rest of the show. Known as the world's strongest tattooer, not only on Instagram, but in all of our hearts. Placing number 1 on the largest stage on Earth, he has earned his crown as the strongest man winner of the 80-kilo division at the Arnold Classic. So welcome to the throne room, Cody Abell.
What an intro. That was awesome.
I even messed it up a little bit, and it still went pretty okay.
Yeah.
I loved it, dude. I feel like I need smoke and strobe lights going right now. This is fucking great.
We should do that.
Yeah, we'll add that in, edit.
Yeah.
AI a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, ChatGPT, I'm going to be using that after this. Make this look awesome.
WrestleMania energy.
Yes, which, man, I'm glad you brought that up because we keep a whiteboard of all the events and stuff we've got coming up, and Dave has made sure that WrestleMania is on there. We're not going.
No, but it's an event.
Yeah, he just wants everybody to know it's coming up.
Yeah, it's like me and the Super Bowl. I don't follow football at all, but I fucking love watching the Super Bowl with my friends and making food. Yep. So it's an event.
Yep, 100% agree. I don't watch any NFL. I like college football, but I don't watch any NFL through the year, but I'll watch the Super Bowl almost every year.
I love the Super Bowl. I love it. Yeah.
I only keep up with the NFL so much as just to keep up with my fantasy team. If they're not, if they're not that, then I don't. Yeah.
I'll be honest. I don't really follow any actual stick and ball sports at all, just because I didn't do them growing up. But the podcasts I listen to, I'm a movie fanatic. The podcasts I listen to about movies, they're also a sports network. So I kind of get the sports stuff as a byproduct because they're always referencing actors to players. I'm like, oh, and I'll look them up and stuff. So, unless there's some big drama going on in a sport, and then I'll hear about it. But I don't. Yeah.
Oh, see, I love the drama in sports. Actually, I just love drama that's not mine. So,
I mean, I think that's pretty normal.
Yeah. So, this Nico drama it's been my favorite thing to talk about all week.
Who's that? What's that?
Nico Iamaleava was the quarterback for the Tennessee Vols.
Oh, did he choke or something?
He requested his NIL deal get raised from, was it $2.6 million to $4 million and this is his sophomore year, or the start of his sophomore year. So
yeah, didn't he not show up to practice or something a week or two ago?
Yeah, he just stopped showing up to practice or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we've gone over this. So I am from Southern Virginia, and I lived in Northeast Tennessee for almost 10 years. So I grew up in Vol country.
Oh, that's perfect, because we are in Maryville, Tennessee. So that's
okay. Yeah, and I lived in Knoxville for a little bit of time.
Yeah,
but I mostly lived in Johnson City though.
Right on. That's where my brother lives, actually.
Yeah.
But so you competed at the Arnold Strongman. well, competed, I guess, an understatement. You won the Arnold Strongman. So that's pretty dope. I mean, we talked about wanting to watch the Strongman events, but like if it was any of the bigger Strongman events, we couldn't watch them. It was all locked behind a paywall. But
yeah, and it wasn't cheap. I think it was like $20 or $30.
It was something. I don't know.
I'm not gonna sit here and like delegate the right price for streams. Some of them, like, there's going to be a paywall, but like I definitely think like you go for a high quality stream and you bank on a low price point to get more viewers. But I mean, that's also like, of course people are going to say that, but I was a little bummed at the price point. I can't remember what it was, but I remember being bummed about it, but it happens, you know? So luckily we had a media team there we invested in. So we're like putting out our Arnold series, like the day one competition episode dropped last night on YouTube. So
that's pretty cool. You know, because I was just thinking like right before this, I was mowing the yard, and I started thinking about like those old CrossFit documentaries they would do, like about Rich Froning and like just
I watched those. Non-stop.
I still will watch those. I hate CrossFit.
They're so good.
But they are so good. And I was like,
they're so good.
Go ahead.
Yeah. They were just great.
Yeah.
Like, it was cool, especially before he got super, super rich, when he still had some, like, I mean, not that he doesn't work. That guy still works his ass off. I still follow CrossFit closely. But like when he still had like a day job and was like still getting multiple workouts in, and it was just cool to see. And it was also like, you know, he also, like, because he won that 1 year, he like had a bit of a increase in income, so he could afford to have a lax schedule. But I feel like from like 2012 to 14, he had like the meathead dream schedule.
Yeah.
Like, wake up early, I'm gonna do a rower set, and then I'm gonna do some strength work a couple hours later, and then a couple of minutes. Like, God damn, that's how I want. I want my day-to-day life to be like that.
Yeah, and then go swim in your, perfectly clean pond.
Big ass pond. And shit. Yeah,
it's so cool. But I was like, how cool would that be to have documentaries in that same style, but about like powerlifters or strongman? Granted, strongman would be way more interesting to watch, but I mean, powerlifters, I guess they need some.
It would depend on the person. It would have to be someone that, like, their personality would need to outweigh the monotony of the sport.
I agree. And I think that's why strongman is getting popular, because everybody's learning that a lot of the characters in strongman are exactly that. They're characters that just so happen to be strong.
Yeah. I mean, that's the root of it. Like, strongman was an entertainment. You know, it was a physical culture form of entertainment more than like a pure hobby in a lot of ways. So, and like, you know, we could talk about how it's a double-sided blade, but like the lack of strictures in the sport, like I don't care what anyone says, like sumo, like, in the true spirit of strongman, nothing is ever actually off the table for an event.
True.
Regardless of whatever. So like with that, there's going to be a certain personality type. Like, you're probably going to have a little bit of ADD, and like, just also by the nature of the sport, like, it is heavy, but like a lot of our events, they're either for max reps or for time. So like, you kind of like doing any sort of max rep, anything, deadlift, loading, pressing, like, you got to be like a total weirdo to want to do that stuff 4 or 5, 3, even just 3-4 times a year. So yeah, I think it's a lot of self-selection. Yeah,
I agree. Because I mean, powerlifting, you know what you're getting into. You've got three events. They're not ever going to change, and the rules are also never going to change.
Calibrated plates.
Yeah.
You know.
The only real difference between the federations, other than like the drug testing stuff, but even within federations, they have tested, non-tested. But the only real difference between federations is like whether it's a deadlift bar or a 2-hour or 24-hour weigh-in. Those are the really, like, in terms of what you're going to do, there's like little things about like what fucking knee sleeves and like what is classic raw and all that garbage. But all in all, the difference is like deadlift or power bar, 2-hour or 24-hour weigh-in, and that's it.
Yeah, and I actually just listened to a podcast today where Nick Best was talking about he wants to do away with the deadlift bar. He wants to go back to just stiff bar only for powerlifting only. I was like,
yeah.
Honestly, though, I see his point because, we're beating a lot of records that have been set a long time ago, like Ed Cohen's 900-pound deadlift on a regular stiff bar. Never happened on a deadlift bar. So I was like, I see the point. You've got 5 inches of give on a bar versus none.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I actually never even thought about that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes total sense. I mean, dude, even those first YMCA nationals that Ed and Louie did, like, I don't even know if they were allowed to wear belts at some of those. Like, I know they couldn't wear more than ace bandages on their knees.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah. I don't know. I see the argument either way.
Yeah.
Like, big weights are going to help push the publicity of the sport, but there definitely needs, like, I don't know. Also, if you're deadlifting 900 stiff bar or deadlift bar, you're fucking strong.
Oh, yeah.
Like, are you going to be able to, can one do the other? Maybe not, but like, we're also kind of dealing with like a whole other realm of person at that point.
I agree. Yeah. So on that question, with that, we've had an ongoing argument with one of our friends. He's not on the podcast. He's been on a few times. But would you consider Ed Cohen to be one of the strongest to have ever walked the earth?
Yeah. Yeah, easily.
See?
Yeah, especially like when you find out about so his build, like physiologically, I've met Ed twice by sheer just universal happenings. Really fucking nice. But like when you see him, you're like, oh, like no wonder he can squat and bench. Like he's physiologically built for it.
Yeah.
Having said that, like the fact that he was able to bench what he could bench, and then when you find out how he benched some of those numbers, some of the numbers he hit, because the equipment at the time, he basically was doing a Larson press because his feet couldn't touch the ground because he was so short. So, like, I don't think those were necessarily his lifetime bests. But like, there's actually somewhere online you could find it. Some of his better bench presses in the early days, his feet weren't even on the fucking ground.
Which is crazy.
So, which is it's insane. But I mean, yeah, like, are there people that are stronger than him now? Yes, but he was so ahead of the curve.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's indisputable.
Yep.
And yeah, it's like, that's like the age old question of like, this athlete versus that athlete. And if it's people that are literally generations apart, it's kind of a losing argument because the person that is in the future, like the argument is solid enough to say they wouldn't be doing what they're doing without the person before. So it's kind of a moot point. But no, Ed Cohen is absolutely what number he is in the ranking. Like, I don't know, but him, like Mark Henry, like those guys are going to go down as some of the strongest people that have ever lived. Dude, there's stories of Ed doing strict bent over barbell rows between like 450 and 500 pounds.
That's insane. Like, that's just...
Yeah, dude. Like, I don't care who you are. That's insane.
Yeah, that's more than most people's deadlift.
100%.
He's just bent over row.
Yeah. And it was Ed, so you knew they were strict.
Yep.
Like Ronnie Coleman did the same thing, and not to say Ronnie wasn't strong, but like Ronnie was doing, power rows using a ton of momentum.
Yep.
Not Ed. Ed was doing fucking bent, like he was trying to build his erectors and lats.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, that's been our argument, is that Ed is irrefutably, like, in my opinion, I think I'd put him at number 4 or 3.
I don't know enough about the old school powerlifting stuff. Like I at a minimum, he's got to be top 10 at a minimum. If you were to take every power/strength discipline in the world, and I'm doing shot put, Highland Games, powerlifting, weightlifting, strongman, Olympic lifting, anything like that, like he's at a minimum in the top 10, simply alone for the trailblazing he did.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So I don't know. Just if your friend doesn't think that he's easily in the top 10, I don't really know like what he's doing.
That's a great question, Clint. But
yeah, Clint, I don't really know where you're getting at. Sounds like he just doesn't like him.
Yeah, I think his thing was because our argument was easily top 10. But then if you start looking at pound for pound, he's like bar none. Like,
yeah, he was breaking. He literally broke. He basically didn't go up a weight class until he broke world records.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, we're back.
No, but Ed Cohn basically didn't go up a weight class until he broke world records. Like 160. Like he literally just went weight class by weight class, just dominating. Yep. 165, 181. You know,
which is nuts.
Yeah, it's fucking insane.
I mean,
so no, that's a it's I don't know, pretty moot argument.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So, for the 80 kilo division, were the events the same for the regulars as the I don't know, super heavyweight strongmen, or did you guys have a whole different event set, or how does that work?
So it depends on what you mean by that. So there's the Arnold Rogue Classic, so like the ones that Mitch Hooper and those guys do. And then there's us, the weight class pro-am. Now it's a pro-am. Our events are totally separate. Every now and then we have some crossover, whether that's on purpose or not. But the winner in the open men and women now gets invited to the big show, we'll call it. But our events, I don't think we had any crossover this year. Our events were max log, max trap bar deadlift for reps with a heavy and a light option, yoke, 120 feet, 60 down, 60 back, a loading medley, and then the finals ended up being axle clean and press away and max keg.
Like max keg for distance?
Max keg load.
Oh, jeez. That sounds brutal.
It was the single most grueling show me and any of the guys have done. Because the trap bar, the heavy trap bar was 700. It was max log, and then trap bar at 700 for reps, and then 700 yoke for 120 feet. And then our loading medley started at 290 and ended at 330-ish.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
I wonder why they picked a trap bar, though. That seems a little...
So they've been doing more side handle type stuff in the qualifier events. Like I remember one year we had Fatback Farmers as like the sort of deadlift event, and then last year we had a hack squat machine as sort of a posterior test. And then they've been throwing a conventional type pull in the finals, which I like. I do think next year they should throw in some a conventional pull, just to break up the habit. Because the last time we had a conventional pull in the qualifiers was 22, and we had a ladder that ended in max reps.
Man, I think it's interesting. I'm torn. On the one hand, I think doing more trap bar or side handle things are cool because I feel like it's not been shown a lot of love. But at the same time, it's also, I just really like conventional deadlift. So
for sure. No, it bothered some people, but to the point I made earlier, nothing should ever be truly off limits in our sport. And I mean, we do car deadlift all the time. So it's basically an easier setup car deadlift.
That's true.
So, but no, I think now that we've done 2 side handle versions and a squat, I think next year, a conventional pull of some type, elevated or axle or something, I think it's time.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if but that's just me spitballing here.
I think it'd be cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so outside of the Arnold, where else have you competed this year, or have you competed anymore this year?
This year, no. So I wrapped up my 5th OSG in December and picked up a few injuries. Actually we didn't know if I was going to be able to do the Arnold. So I didn't get to register until about 4, whatever the deadline was. I literally got cleared and felt confident to register the last day. But the plan this year is to do ASM in 12 weeks, ASM 80 down in Dallas, hosted by the Owens, Derek and Shelley. And then after that, TBD, there's a slight chance I might get invited to ASM 90 because I won as an 80. But other than that, I'm not thinking too much further past that. I had a lot of mental, emotional sort of revelations and breakthroughs from getting pretty hurt in December to leading into the Arnold. So I'm just going to keep riding that train of not thinking too far ahead and just staying in my lane. I would like to do more stuff, but I'm not thinking past just trying to work really hard and be the best athletic version of myself I could be in July.
Heck yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah. But as far as like in totality, this is my fifth Arnold, and I've been to OSG 5 times. I've been to Nationals twice. And that's it for like the bigger shows. Yeah.
So like typically how many shows do you try to do a year? Because I mean, these beat you up and it's
Oh yeah. Yeah, so my first 2 years I did 5 a year, all with weight cuts. And then since then, the last couple of years, I wouldn't say I would not, but more than likely I'll never go do a show that I have to make 80 more than 2, maybe 3 times, depending on the opportunity. But generally I'll compete at a minimum 2 to 4 times with 2 weight cuts. Otherwise I'll go up to 90 or 105.
Yeah. Yeah, because like in Highland Games, there are guys that'll do 20 competitions, 25 a year.
Yeah.
And like we do Highland Games too, but if you do a strongman comp and then a couple weeks later Highland Games, and then you're pretty much ready to to rest for a while.
Yeah.
Or a Highland Games and then a week later you got a strongman competition. Like it's hard to.
No, I can't do that. Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've tried it. The last time I did anything crazy is in 2021. Me and a couple of friends, we did nationals in Roanoke, Virginia, as an 80, and then 3 weeks later, we did OSG as an 80. And performance-wise went okay, or physically saying like I didn't get hurt or anything, but it was just a lot. It's also fucking expensive.
Yeah.
So, but I'll probably never. I'm willing to do 3 a year. One of those shows I'm not going to be peaked for. I might be like really fit and strong, but I'm never going to peak more than 2 times a year now. But the odds of me making weight more than 3 times a year, it's not even the weight cut. It's like if I have to make weight for a show, I basically have to add an extra 3 to 4 days of travel and not working onto that. Whereas when I compete as a 90, I can just show up the morning of most of the time and make weight with my clothes on.
Yeah.
Whereas with like the Arnold, I'm getting there like days early and it's just more logistics.
So what's your usual walk around? If you have to cut down to 80, where do you usually hang out at?
Usually, like so to me, there's off season and then there's break. I am just now coming out of what I call a break, which is like I've been training. Well, I've been working out. But I would say like I've been on break, so I've been like my weight's been like crazy fluctuating, like 192, all the way up to 198. But we're coming out of that now, and we're starting like an actual, what I consider a real training block. So off season, and generally I make sure that I stay between 192 and 194, and then when I start my water cut, like a week or so out, I'm going to be anywhere between 189 and 191. And then I usually don't have to sweat more than like 2 kilos at most out. The water loading and cutting, I get about 90% or more of my weight off. Like this year for the Arnold, I only had to do 2 like 20-minute sits in the sauna, and I made weight. Just for example, when I got to Ohio, I was down to like just with water cut and all that stuff, I had already gotten down to like 180 ish. So I did like two 15 or 20-minute sauna sits and then went to bed and woke up at weight. So I'm very lucky that the protocol that Ross, our in-house nutritionist on the Stronger Together team, he's got me a great plan. I also have so I started Strongman in 2016 and I was pretty light, and I without sounding like a psycho or a delusional asshole, I kind of wanted to give myself this trajectory to like win and be dominant in several years. So I just made a promise to myself that I was only going to go up half to 1 kilo every year in body weight. So when I started, I was about 183, give or take, and I just went up 1.5, 2.5 pounds a year at most. So I think just slowly building like mass and density, and honestly, I think like physical conditioning to water cuts has just made it to where I'm cutting weight really fast and easily.
I don't know that I could handle a weight cut any more than what we're already doing, but because my normal walk around outside, we're currently doing a bodybuilding competition, and I hate every second of it. But normally I'm no lighter than 270, but I'm also 6'6". So I'm no lighter than 270, but that's what me and Holland were talking about earlier. Is I weighed in this morning at 242. And I hate I hate it. So
I'm so sorry.
I can't imagine doing this more than one time a year. Not granted.
Well, so I will say the difference with bodybuilding is like it's a longer, more prolonged thing.
Mm-hmm.
With this, like the only time I'm at a true caloric deficit is the week leading into the show. Unless I really fucked up in my off season, which has happened. Let me be clear. I've had to be in a cut way longer. But like now that like I've been working with Ross for so long and like I've just built in the habits and time, we just now know that if I'm between that 192, 194, like I'm going to have to diet maybe 2 weeks out. Like actually truly diet like deficit. Like being strict on what you eat is not the same as a diet to me.
Yeah.
Diet means you're at a deficit. So yeah.
And then like almost immediately after your cut, you rehydrate and you've gained a lot of weight back.
Oh, I had the biggest bounce back I've ever had this year too. So normally I can get back up to like training weight, which is in that 192, 194 range by the end of the day. But this year, dude, it went almost too good in that like I think if we would have had a grip event, it would have been bad because my hands were kind of puffy. But I went to bed. I started the weight cut at like 190, 191, made weight at 176.4. And when I went to bed, I was 197.
Jeez. Holy cow.
Like that wasn't on purpose. Like, well, I mean, obviously I was trying to gain the weight back, but like I didn't mean to do that. Like I got back up to 191 pretty quick because I take in a gallon of water within 2 hours of making weight. And it's also got some other stuff in it. But so that's 8 pounds right there. But I got up to like 191 and I asked Ross, I was like, hey, do I need to keep working here? And he was like, yeah, like I'd get a little more higher because you're going to lose weight overnight. And then I did, but then it was 197. But I think I woke up at about 195. So I was actually only a little higher than my normal training weight.
Okay.
But I haven't had a bounce back like that ever. It was wild.
Does it affect how you feel? Like, does it make you feel worse if you bounce back that far, or do you feel better?
So I will say the night of the refeed, I was feeling a little like ballooned a little bit, you know. But I mentally was feeling so good leading into the Arnold because like where I was hurt, I had just accepted a couple of realities. One, I avoided surgery because I almost needed surgery. 2, I'm getting to compete. And 3, I just accepted the absolute worst scenario. I was like, I'm gonna not make the finals. I might even get last, and I'm going to have to start my whole season over. But I get to be there with all the clients that we're coaching because we had a bunch of people competing too. I get to be with my best friends, and I get to do the Arnold again. And so I was just so happy to have that when I woke up, it was like euphoric. I was nervous, let me be clear, but I was like very euphoric about it. But again, with the help of Ross and just like almost 10 years of experience, like what you use to refeed is just as important as how much. And I've got the process down so well that like other than feeling a little full and bloated the night of, I usually wake up feeling pretty rock solid.
Because I know I've wondered that. I've never had to do a weight cut for anything. Yeah. I think it's what I was saying before our last little thing was anytime I've competed, I compete pretty close to whatever I'm already at. And usually almost every sport we do, there's a 125 plus, and I'm always in the 125 plus. So but I never really thought much about how does that refeed and rehydrate really, does it help you, hurt you? I don't really know how that would feel.
I mean, scientifically saying like there's no way a weight cut and a refeed will help you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's just not possible.
Yeah.
Now, it can you do a lot of things to mitigate it hurting you? 100%. Again, though, like there's a huge mental part of it. Like I got into strongman to compete, and I was very aware of the weight cut process. So my mind was already sort of in this zone of, well, this is just how we got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like your mental approach to it is huge. And I know of several people that like we coach a couple people that, in my opinion, could do a very easy weight cut and go down an entire class and have a very different outcome in their event results. But they just mentally and emotionally don't want to do a weight cut. And I am so supportive of that. And like, frankly, it's probably more sustainable for most people, you know? So I totally get it. Like, I'm never going to, even though I am like I try to be a big advocate for the weight classes, I'm also the first guy to tell someone like, don't do a weight cut.
Yeah. Yeah. I mentioned a minute ago, I've never done a weight cut. So this bodybuilding weight cut is the first time I've ever legitimately had to do something like this. And
how many total calories do you eat a day?
Well, right now we both have the same coach. He's not giving us a calorie intake. He just gives us, this is what you eat every day.
Meal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
how many meals?
So it's 5 meals a day. On training days, it's breakfast is 2 packs of oats, 100 grams of berries, and 2 eggs. And then meal 1 and 2 are 125 grams of rice. This is mine. I think mine's different than his now. Mine's for the first 2 meals after breakfast are 5 ounces of chicken thigh and 125 grams of rice. Then the last 2, or then there's the fourth meal is 5 ounces of steak with 125 grams of potatoes. And then the last meal of the day is 5 ounces of steak, 2 eggs, and 100 grams of berries every day.
Okay. Yeah, so that's not calorically, because 125, that's 3/4 cup, so that's about 5 ounces of rice. So you're getting in like a bunch of 10-ounce meals, basically.
Yep.
Okay.
It's not the worst thing I've ever done.
But the monotony.
Yeah, the monotony, and it's mostly been the mental aspect of the whole thing. Like I've been so strong and have been so big for so long that now that I'm none of those things, I hate it.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, as far as like just the eating the food and doing the exercises, I'm perfectly fine. But for me, it's been the mental aspect of the whole thing that has just not been a great time.
I'm just
it can.
I'm just sick of rice. I'm so sick of rice. 2 times a day, every day, all day. Ugh.
I don't know.
Hey, brother, welcome to the strong. I think I eat 1, 2, 3, 4. I eat a minimum of 4 to 5 cups of rice a day, every day. But again, though, dude, like, again, I risk of sounding like a sanctimonious asshole. Like, I got it. Like, this has kind of been all part of the plan. So it's been easier for me to be in that headspace, you know? So.
And I think I would think differently about it if I had to do, or if I was competing in weight class sports where I had to make a weight class. So if this was more of like a common thing where I got to stay at this weight like you do, and then I got to drop to this one for I think I would be a little more in sync with it. But as far as this is way outside of my comfort zone, I'm not okay with it.
You didn't do like a stair step. You did like a whole it was a huge jump.
Yep. Yeah, we went from we just did. When was our last strongman competition? I don't remember. We just did 2 competitions not that long ago, and so then we went from up here to just here's the cut.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah,
that's
and
rough.
It was our fault. It was completely self-imposed.
Yeah. Yeah, we were like, hey, this would be a great idea for the podcast.
What bodybuilding show are you doing?
It's not even a real one. It's just me versus him.
I gotta love it. Yeah. But when I didn't lift weights until I was 24, 25. And so I was still living in Johnson City. So this would have been 2012. I was like just kind of bro split.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing like squat, bench, and deadlift, but with a lot of dumbbell and cable work. So just bro building, I guess. But I remember a buddy of mine, he was like, you should do a bodybuilding show. I'm like, sick. Okay. I am working out a lot. I wasn't. I thought I was, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what do I need to do a bodybuilding show? And there was the other stuff that you do. And then he showed me the diet. And at the time, I was like, I'm not fucking doing that at all.
100%.
But it would have been for, what's that British dude that lives outside of Nashville that does Battle at the River? He was a 212 bodybuilder for years.
I'm not sure.
Either way, it was the battle at the river that was in Chattanooga, I think. I was going to do that, or I thought about it, and then I saw the diet, and I was like, I'm good. So
yeah, that's how I've always been, because that's how I started. Was whenever I joined the military, I just started working out because that's what everybody does. So I was just doing the same thing, the same bro split, and I thought I wanted to be a bodybuilder, and I didn't. And I thought that for a long time, but never did a bodybuilding show. I just stayed with the bro split stuff. But yeah, we've also, one of our athletes, he's 18, he's a stud in powerlifting, but now he's 18 and has a, really high metabolism. So he's all about, I think I want to do a bodybuilding show. He asks us about it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's pretty shredded.
When you're that age, just let him do it. Yeah. It's like, just let him have fun. Like I will say that's something I would have done more of when I first started this. Is I was just so strict on myself out the gate that I think now it was a little bit of a detriment. The few things I would have told myself in 2016 when I started Strongman was do more shows without a weight cut. Do more strength events that you want to do without worrying about it. Like I still haven't done a powerlifting meet or a weightlifting meet, and I really want to do those, and I kind of feel like I've been waiting to do one. But as you get older, life gets more complicated, so now it's not as easy. But yeah, that's definitely what I would have told myself. Just tell myself these first 2 years almost don't even fucking matter. They're not going to give you what you want anyway. So
True.
Just make it as fun as possible.
Yep. I think I've stayed in that idea. I know.
But that's where people should be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The way I've pursued this is not ideal. Well, I would say the last 2 or 3 years, but I was way too dialed in and uptight the first 2 or 3 years. Way too bad. And luckily, as I've gotten older, I've learned to chill while also being very disciplined. So
I think that's the perfect spot to be in, is maintain discipline while still having fun. I think that's perfect.
Yeah. And it just takes time and being mature.
I'm still not mature. But I've accepted a long time ago that I can be good, but I won't be the best, so I can just have fun at where I'm at.
That's awesome.
And that's just kind of where
that's what I try
stay.
to tell people. Yeah, I think that's the downside to strongman right now. Is at least where I'm at in Northern Virginia, outside of DC. I think is I meet a lot of people. They get into the sport. They have a lot of fun, and after like a year, even though they keep making progress, like I've literally had people say to me, and I hope it's not because it's me, but they're like, well, I'm never going to get to this or that. And it's like, maybe not, but like, if you're still having fun, this can just be the thing that you do.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it being a hobby.
And yeah, and I think because strongman is still, even though we are getting a lot bigger, there's not enough middle ground awareness. Like, people think it's either you're at the fucking bottom and you're novice forever, or you're like Mitch Hooper.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's just so not true.
Yep,
and
I agree.
That's something like with Stronger Together, our team that we have in our team program and our affiliate programming that we do, is like we're basically trying to help turn strongman into somewhat of what CrossFit did,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like CrossFit used the games as a great promotion of the methodology and the culture and all that stuff. But there are, because I did CrossFit for a long time, like, but there are so many people that work hard to get good at CrossFit, but they're also never like delusional to think like, well, I'm going to try and make it to the games. And it's like, bro, you're 28 and you started this last year. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But they're perfectly happy going to the gym 3 to 5 times a week, busting ass, and making progress.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm trying to help push strongman in that direction, and it's getting there. But I just think we have some more culture work to do, and we just have to get more people involved.
I agree. I think that's a great way to explain it too, is because a lot of people, that's the one thing people know about CrossFit, is that it's inclusive. And I mean, a lot of times they think they're crazy, but at the same time though, that not all of them do the CrossFit games. Not all of them are the novice division. There's a pretty broad spectrum of them. And so I think that would be good to bring into strongman, is for more people to be okay in the middle ground. Like, you can compete, have fun, do all the cool stuff without feeling like you shouldn't do it at all. I mean, also without feeling like you're going to have to be Mitch Hooper, because no one's going to be Mitch Hooper.
That's what I tell people. I tell my friends, like, and I get it, dude. We do it in all other forms of life, but these people have like, they start creating this outward pressures that, like, well, I think I'm supposed to, like, first of all, you ain't supposed to do shit. This is strongman. This is all extra. Yep. This is just this thing that we do and we get to do for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So like, and I'm trying to get better about talking to my clients about like, hey, we've been down this road for a certain amount of time. I can tell you're not that happy. Like, what if you're just the guy that does the shows that are within a drive, and you just keep enjoying the sport?
Yep.
Like, and we still want you to get better, but like, if you're going, like, I had somebody go to nationals and they performed well for themselves. They didn't place how they wanted, but they performed well. And I remember talking to them, and I give everybody like 5 to 10 day cool down after every competition. And I'm like, let's talk about the experience, not your performance. And let's separate the two. And I was like, did you have a good time? And anyone I know that goes to a big competition for the first time that I can't go with, I try and set them up with people I know to kind of just be with. And they're like, not really, man. I didn't like it. This, that, and that. And I'm like, do you ever want to go back? And he was like, I'll be honest, not really. I'm like, that's so okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, we can just do the shows that are basically 2 hours from your house. And this is just the thing that you do. Yep. I mean, that's what runners do. That's what CrossFitters do. That's what a lot of powerlifters do. Mm-hmm. And like, that's going to be more emotionally fulfilling for someone long-term. And also, like, it's going to make it a real hobby and not this weird, like, form of, it ends up turning into like self-torture and self-loathing.
Yep.
And then like, you're just a grumpy asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think a lot of that, like you said, it is part of the current culture of it. Yeah. Because all we see right now with social media being as big as it is you see the very high performing athletes, and then you don't see anything under them. So like you see the Mitch Hoopers go from marathon runner to world's strongest man winner, and you're like, man, if he can do that, like why am I not doing that? And then it just really crushes everybody. Not everybody. It crushes the people that think they should be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, and also too, like, and this is going to be kind of a crazy thing to say, maybe coming from, well, if people know me, it's not going to be, but someone like me, like an Arnold champion and someone that's been to the biggest shows for the weight class, like novice and entry level shows need to be as accessible as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And like, some shows, I know a couple of shows in Virginia that they don't offer novice divisions, which depending on the show, I understand. Having said that, I think the balance of that is like we're seeing people doing novice only shows, which I think is awesome. I think there needs to be more of that. And I'm talking about novice divisions. Like in my opinion, a novice show is never too light. Because that's what it is. It's novice. And from a culture and a hobby sport and just an organizational standpoint, no matter what organization you're in, like it's human capital. We need more people doing the thing. And just like the sport has a really high barrier for entry just because of the equipment.
Yeah, we've talked about that before.
And here's the thing. That's not something I want to change. Not that I want the sport hard to get into, but like I don't want us to get more normal. Like
Agreed.
So the answer to that is to like, well, if it's going to be hard for people to train it, we might as well make the weights a little more manageable. So
true.
Like I also think it's weird if a promoter's like, I want this show to be really heavy. And it's like, are you reading your audience? Like if you want to do a heavy ass beater of a show, you need to position yourself to do a nationals or a pro-am. But like beating the shit out of Leslie and Steve that only get to work out 3 days a week because they have a fucking job and like a family is honestly just stupid. In my opinion, like, and I actually don't, there's this old adage of like, like every event should be created on the rule of thirds. A third will smoke it, a third will struggle with it, and a third will zero. I think that's really stupid at a small local level. I think I think like overall you want to set everyone up for success. And what I mean by that is not giving everyone a fucking trophy, but like let's try and make it to where everyone gets points on the board so it's not such a defeating feeling when they fail something. Now, if they fail a max attempt weighted, like a max deadlift, that's one thing. But if you're setting up a medley and there's 9 people and 3 of them all zero the medley, like, and it's a novice division, like that's just bad business.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, because especially in the novice division, that's probably their first show ever, and they walked in, zeroed all the events, and have now just decided, I'm done. I can't do the sport. I'm not going to do it anymore. So
yeah, I just wasted 6, 8, 12 weeks. Hundreds of dollars. Like it just, and again, I'm talking about novice.
Right.
Like the distinction between novice and open classes, I think needs to be more severe. Like literally for that reason, like, I don't know. I don't know. Again, it's culture and like, it's strongman, not whatever. Like guys, if we need the sport to literally grow. So more people doing it only helps us.
Yeah. And I think people use that because it's called strongman, that they think, okay, it's got to be as heavy as possible, no matter what the division is. Period. Yeah.
And we also forget, like, strongman by its nature is already hard. We're using like quote unquote non-conventional objects that are 1, really expensive, 2, hard to find, 3, like hard to find locations of places that allow you to use the equipment. So like those are already 3 hurdles already, on top of the fact that like sandbags and stuff like that, they are just harder than barbells and kettlebells. And so like it's already hard. Like it's like kicking someone while they're down. Like we don't need to add insult to injury here, literally.
Yeah, Yeah, because there's always that one implement at every strongman show. Or like, I just went and commentated at an event this last weekend, and one of the events was a fire hydrant hold, and I went
like this or like that.
Like this, or I guess however.
Okay.
But yeah, and I asked him. I asked Willie, the Danzer's the guy that put it on. I said, where did you get a fire hydrant? And he was like, you don't have one? Like, no, I don't. He goes, oh, it's just on Marketplace. You can find them. Which, sure enough, I did go search. There's a bunch of them.
That's true.
But
yeah,
but yeah, there's always that weird implement that, like you said, how do you train that? Like,
yeah,
not everybody wants to go spend $100+ on a fire hydrant to train for one competition.
Yeah, yeah, no, and like, there's also an opportunity there for the promoter to act as like a bit of a steward for training. So it's like, as a promoter, especially again if it's a novice centric show, and what I mean by that is you're going to have more novices than open. Like, the promoter has an opportunity, they don't have to obviously, but there's an opportunity there to be like, hey guys, obviously not all of you have a fire hydrant. One, how about you come by this place a couple weeks out, you can play with the fire hydrant. Two, they could also offer up advice like, hey, this is how you could train this event if you don't have a fire hydrant.
True.
Yeah.
So,
but I know, like you were saying about the novice events, I have seen, like, I know Highland Games has become really apparent where novice divisions are becoming few and far between, primarily because a lot of the games are at festivals, and a lot of these festivals have a large crowd, and they don't want, I don't know that necessarily they don't want them, but the novice division does not draw a crowd because, for lack of a better way to put it, most of the people in the novice division make the weights look heavier than they want them to look, because they want big athletes to throw a 56. Because that's the thing with Highland Games, though, is the events aren't going to change like powerlifting. The weights aren't going to change. They're all going to be the same every single time.
Yeah.
But so a lot of times, like, the novice division is the first one to get cut. And, and the only positive to that is that they have a lot of other classes, so you can step up from novice to the next amateur class, and it's not too far off from a novice.
Yeah,
because it's so broken up at this point. But still, I hate to see the novice division across all boards just slowly kind of slip out, because how else do you get into it?
Yes. Yeah.
Especially with sports like Highland Games or Strongman, where the implements are not just something that you might have laying around.
Yeah, well, also too, like, people need to even figure out if they even want to do the actual shows. Now, you can train strongman and not compete, but like, people also need to find out if like the fundamental experience is something they even want to go after. Much less like, do they want to train harder and better to do better each time?
Yep.
Yeah.
So for Highland Games, we're told all the time that it's a lot of it is about the sport and competing, but a lot of it is also about being a showman and putting on a show for the crowd. Would you consider that to be true for strongman also, or do you think strongman's more, straight-laced, do your sports, win your competition, and go?
I think it depends on the contests, and I think I think personality has a lot to do with it. I'm someone that's known for being like a more like noticeable competitor, either via performance or just attitude. I think like there's been times I've done things in competition that are great for the crowd. There's also been times I've done a few things that I think are just out of line, and I apologize for that, and I rectify it. But no, like this, you gotta, from a sport perspective, no, we've definitely got personalities, and the guys know who they are, and like, barring, I think where the line is drawn is making sure that nothing you do as a competitor gets in the way of other competitors, obviously, or damages equipment. But no, we've definitely got some guys that show up and show out beyond just the actual results. And there's definitely personalities. And I think that is where weight class, especially the 80 and 90 kilo division, is going to get more attention. Is like, we're very fucking animated, like, a lot. Yeah. Like, so there's an entertainment factor, So.
Well, I mean, Strongman started off kind of sideshow roots anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was entertainment. I mean,
Yeah. Like I used to have it's like embarrassing to think about. I used to have a bad. I only got talked to about it one time, but for a long time, for several years, I should say, I had a history of at the end of some events, like I would just go fucking ape shit and I would throw my belt. Um, and I've actually broken several belts because of that. But it ended up turning into like a thing to where people are like, "How many are we going to see a belt throw this weekend?" And I'm like, "Well, look, I got to earn it first." And then after last year at the Arnold, I threw my belt, um, and it didn't hit anyone, but someone like they were like, "Hey, like we scream, yell," but they were like, you cannot throw your belt anymore. Like it could be like an actual problem if it hits something or somebody. And I just felt like such an asshole. And I was like, you're completely right. Like, absolutely. So I just have a no belt throwing rule now.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, I've done that at competition once. I had missed a sheaf throw that I'd been practicing for all year. And so I slammed my pitchfork on the ground. And I wasn't like real mad. It was mostly just like trying to be funny kind of thing. Like, oh, slam it down.
Yeah.
And then I got pulled aside after that and told I'd be kicked out if I did it again. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
My bad.
you acknowledge it and you implement it and then that's it.
Yep.
So, yeah. Yeah. But no, I mean, I'm definitely someone that can be pretty animated at times. This Arnold, I was pretty contained just because, again, dude, like I thought I was going to come in last and like everything was just so, I was just trying to stay so present that like when the events would go really well, I was just like more shocked than anything. And I also didn't want to jinx myself if I'm honest.
Yep.
So I just like literally contained it as best as I could, other than a few like fuck yeahs and middle finger. I'm gonna give the middle finger no matter what. So that was actually how a lot of people found out about me is last year on the last event at the Arnold, because I've gotten my Arnold trajectory has been like ninth, fourth, third, first. And last year on the last event, on the last rep, I got a sandbag to my shoulder and I gave the crowd the finger and I just like gave it like the big like wrap around. And then I like pulled my wife on stage and that like went kind of viral. So like I'm always going to definitely throw the finger up. It's just part of my personality. So
that's pretty funny though.
Yeah.
You gotta be remembered for something.
Yeah. That's why I tell everyone that like sees the photo. People took it some people, not everybody, but a couple of people took it so serious. They're like, "Well, who are you mad at?" And I'm like, watch the video. Don't just look at the photo. I gave the finger and then I pulled my wife on stage. Like it wasn't like I wasn't trying to pick a fight with somebody.
Yeah, we're just having fun. There's nothing
we're
to be
just
mad
having
about.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I am that friend that like when I see you, I'm like this. So like it's it's like Superman. Like on my planet, this means hope.
Yeah, I think it was just the last episode we recorded. I think I flipped our Dave that's not here. I flipped him off on set, but I made sure the camera wasn't looking at me, so then my mom doesn't get mad at me.
Yeah,
but yeah, at work I'm that guy. I do that to everybody.
Yeah.
I had another question and I just spaced. I remember what it was now.
Hey, good job.
Yep. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
So one question we like to ask everybody is, what's your favorite PR?
Ooh. Oh man. I'm gonna give an easy one and then I'm gonna give a more like philosophical one. Is that okay?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so short story. In December when I competed at Worlds, it was a really bad weekend. My mind failed me on event one, and then my body failed me on everything else. I basically tore my both adductors, and I strained my pelvis, so my pelvis was offset. And the only position that wasn't horribly painful was deadlifting, which is actually historically my worst discipline. And going into the deadlift, it was like a heavy and a light option. And it was like, well, I mean, I had my trajectory was looking good for the heavy bar, but we still didn't know. And my coach was like, I think you got to go for the heavy bar. And I was like, at this point, I don't care about my placement. I'm going to get that fucking deadlift because I'm doing it for me. And I went out there with like 2 torn adductors and a torn groin and a fractured pelvis. And I hit like the heaviest deadlift of my life on a axle. And like my coach Flash, who's one of my good friends too, he was, and he has said it even after the Arnold. He was like, that's one of my proudest coaching moments because that's been such a, like, I normally take bottom on an event like that. And I did, and, but then like the more philosophical one is off the back of that weekend and leading into the Arnold, just the like, emotional and mental awareness of how much more stress and anxiety I was putting on myself than what the actual sport put on me. And like realizing like I can chill and relax and also train hard and be a good competitor.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Because I don't think if I had a torn adductor and or a fractured pelvis, I don't think I'd even be there. I think I'd go home.
Yeah, at the time I didn't quite know that's what it was, so that was a part of it. If I had known that, I'll be honest, I might have gone home.
Yeah.
But like I had flown all the way out to Madison. We had put in so much work. I just like I woke up that morning and I had a bit of I'll be honest, I had a bit of a minty bee, as they say. I had a bit of a breakdown because I have never woken up in pain like that at a competition. I've woken up like really tight. But like I couldn't pick up my torso out of bed. I had to like roll out of bed and I was crawling on the floor. So I had like a minor breakdown, if I'm being honest. And I rallied myself and I was just like, I'm gonna get this deadlift because it's the only thing I can do that's not painful, and I'm just not giving myself that choice. And I knew I could. So yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
You think?
I think.
Do you?
Well, I think we're
thinking.
I think we're coming up on time.
Oh no. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't. Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it?
Time's fun when you're having flies.
Yeah. Yes, sir. What is the strongman scene like down in like Middle Tennessee and stuff?
See, that's one thing we've talked about a little bit is like Middle Tennessee. I'm not too sure, but here in where we're at we're actually like just south of Knoxville. Around here, there's almost no strongman gym.
Yeah.
Like if there is, it's just people that have brought in their equipment somewhere, like we have at our place.
When I program for Josh, that's always a huge factor for his programming is like where the equipment is and stuff.
Yeah, that's been the problem we've came into, and I think Josh has a lot of his equipment, doesn't he?
He's got a fair amount, but like he trains yoke in his yard.
Yeah.
So like it's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about what we roll through here is we just don't have it. So
yeah,
we've slowly been trying to collect our own stuff because like I told you on Instagram before, we help coach Special Olympics powerlifting. So we've got a pretty cool little area now. So we've just started slowly sneaking in our strongman stuff. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, right.
I mean, dude, just the weighted carries would help powerlifters of any, like.
Yeah, that was one thing I was, whenever I was listening to a podcast today with Nick Best on it, that was another thing he brought up was powerlifters that moved to strongman could do really well, especially if you were a football player that went to powerlifting and then strongman. It's like, because now you've got static strength, you're used to being an athlete, and so all you got to do is learn to carry things, and you're pretty much golden.
Dude, literally, so check this out. I just started working with a guy 10 weeks ago, former D1 football player, went to Worlds as a powerlifter. I've been working with him 10 weeks. and I just coached him to a fucking regional win. So he got an Arnold invitation on his first strongman
Jeez.
show.
Yeah, he's got everything going for him. D1 athlete, then power lifter, and
dude, I've said it the whole time. Like, obviously, because for anyone that doesn't know, I have a team. It's me, Ross Remillard, Andrew Hanus, and Kelly Plush, Stronger Together. We're a team of coaches. We have affiliate programming and individualized programming. But when I started working with Sean, I have people do sometimes, or I try to when I can, if I don't know them, do like a few little movement tests. And when I had Sean do some movement testing, I was like, oh, this guy's like really athletic. And he already knew how to like lift because he did powerlifting and he went to Worlds. So like I'll be honest, it made programming for him so much simpler.
Yeah.
And like I actually didn't even have to, like, other than some of the clean and pressing, like all the posterior chain work was kind of just maintenance and like great, like getting him exposed to the angles and stuff that he hadn't done before. And like he's still accumulating these really easy PRs. And he was like, I'm ready to like double down. And I was like, we don't need to though. I was like, let's just keep cruising on what we're doing. And then when I was like, when we have two like training blocks where we don't have a good outcome, then we'll double down. I was like, but right now it's so easy for you to PR. Like, I say we just ride it out.
That makes sense. I mean, there's no reason to push it harder if it's already working.
No, dude, I remember his gym, his stones, they only went up to 250 and then it jumped to 315. Which I don't care how strong you are. That is a huge fucking jump.
I have a 300-pound Atlas stone that I have yet to pick up.
Yeah. And I just had him doing a lot of volume and just practice reps, and play. Technically it would be considered play. And then just some supplemental accessory work. And because he's such a experienced athlete prior to strongman, I give him options on stuff. And I basically had him practicing shouldering, and I was like, I just want you to shoulder something really heavy, like that's heavy for you. And I was actually trying to get him to do sandbags, but he had gotten so good at sandbags, he was like, I'm just going to go for this heavy stone. And I didn't know what it weighed, and he went for it. And he shouldered a 315 stone on like his like 7th week.
Good
and
Lord.
he had never gone above 250 the entire time.
Yeah, lifting a 315-pound stone is one thing. Shouldering a 315 is a whole nother thing. That's crazy.
Yeah. I saw that, and I'm really good at I'm really good at loading and shouldering, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, and dude, I mean, and he's a 105. Well, actually, I mean, he competes in 105, but he's like he's 100. He's like 5 kilos under 105, and like, dude, shouldering a 315 stone is super impressive. I don't care what you weigh.
Yeah, no matter who it is, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Good Lord, now I'm jealous. Now I want to go try to shoulder something. Not a 315 though.
You want to go
just shoulder anything.
Yeah. You want to go eat a lot and then shoulder
something. Yeah.
There we go. Yep.
Whenever I had got my Atlas stones, there was a guy locally that was making them, and I was like, cool. I got picked out. I think I picked out 5 stones, and of different, increasing up to anywhere from 115. I got a 115 stone because we just did a stone event where they had a Atlas stone throw, and it was a 115.
Oh, okay.
Throw. So I purposely got a 115 to practice that. And then I went up to a 300. Well, the guy said, all right, well, I want to take payment up front because I've been left with a lot of stones where people don't pay for me and I'm just stuck with them. And I was like, you got any you're stuck with right now? And he said, well, just so happens I have a 405 and a 375. I was like, I don't want the 405, but I will take that 375 off your hand. So now I've got a 375 out there that I just kind of push it around the yard sometimes so it looks like I moved it.
Sounds like we got to get you on a stone program, dude.
I probably should. I should at some point.
Yeah.
But so before we close everything out, where can everybody find you at?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for anyone that doesn't know, I mean, you announced it. I am a professional tattooer. So my tattoo page is Cody Abell, just my name, and then my athlete personal coaching page is strongest_tattooer. And off that profile, you'll be able to follow Stronger Together. And then I'm also a sponsored athlete by Cerberus, so give them some love too. But the Strongest Tattooer Instagram is where you'll be able to find everything.
Perfect. Maybe we can get you to give Holland his first tattoo. We've been trying to talk him into it for a while.
Hey, brother, I come down to Tennessee and North Carolina all the time. So my dream, I'll put it out here now, the dream is within the next year or so is to do a tattoo strongman tour and to go do some tattoos and then go hit up a strongman gym or strongman hangout and lift and do that like all up and down the East Coast and then to film it all.
Coincidentally, I'm glad you brought that up. So the event that I just did this last weekend is a strongman competition at a tattoo convention.
Which one?
That one was the what's it called? I can't think of it. Oh, Strongest at the Sideshow.
What convention was it at? In Fayetteville.
Yeah, in Fayetteville.
Yes. Yeah, I got an invite to that, and the timing was just it was too soon after the Arnold because they did a team one.
Yep.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing the team, but it was just so soon after the Arnold. Dude, I was fucked up from the Arnold.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But it's also happening next year. They've already got approval for next year.
I think I know the guy that put it on. I think it's this dude, Sonny, that I met. So I started doing strongman in Raleigh, Durham, which is outside of Fayetteville. And I met Sonny Baitlin, who is a tattooer that does strongman. I'm pretty sure he's involved in the organizing. So
he might be. I know the guy that runs the actual, just the strongman event portion is Willie Danzer and his wife, Kendra Danzer. They put that one, they run the actual strongman competition part. So I don't know if they have not said if they're doing the team event, but they know they're doing.
Either way, if it's at a convention, if it's at a tattoo convention, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and I've already told, because like I know this year, this is the first time I went was this year, and all we did was announce at it. So I went and walked around the tattoo convention after that, and I was like, I should have stayed another day so I could have got a tattoo while I was here, because I need more. But
no, dude, that'll be my plan. The next year I'll come do the tattoo convention and the strongman show.
That'd be sweet. Yeah, if as soon as I get any more information about it, I'll make sure it gets sent to you.
Please, absolutely.
All right, so with that, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for reaching out. Hope it wasn't too bad today, but
you guys are great. It was nice talking to some folks from back home. So
good. Yeah, thanks for coming out. We loved having you. Hopefully we can get you back on again.
At any time.
Sweet. So I'll catch you all on the next one.
In my
But all right, so I think I'm gonna hop off here and start getting stuff ready for editing. But I'm actually, yeah, dude. Thank you, man. I appreciate you reaching out. That was, I think it's the first time someone's reached out to us. Usually, I'm reaching out to everybody hoping they see my message. Yeah. Heck yeah. Oh, dude, he's super cool. Well, yeah, he's a super like. I'd actually met him on the Strongman DIY page on Facebook, and he had just posted on there one day asking if anybody had Atlas stones because he was prepping for an event, and I was like, I do actually. And we were trying to work out a time for him to come and train over here, but we just couldn't work out times for it. But then we just wound up having him on the podcast, anyways. But yeah, he's a super cool dude. I need to talk to him about getting him back on, anyways. Hmm. Oof, that's rough. Yeah, heck yeah. Then, you say you were in Virginia? Okay, actually, my other brother lives up there. He's in the Navy at actually he's in Maryland, but either way, not too far. I know I think so, but I know we've talked about trying to get out and about more, so we might try to make our way to Northern Virginia at some point. Heck yeah, both, all the above. I, yeah, I've tried to get tattoos anywhere I go. Uh, it's not gone great so far, but I think the only place that I've gone that I have not got tattooed at is France. I missed France, so I don't particularly want to go back there. So,
Yeah.
but so, but yeah, I think that'd be super cool. So, all right, I'll be hitting you up, brother. All right, I will. All right, take care, bud.
See
See
you.
ya.
Cut.